And here we go. We are about to go live. All right, here we are. Oh, I'm so excited. Welcome to Radiant Life Conversations today. I have the pleasure to introduce you all to this most amazing woman, Brandy. She is my husband's cousin, and that's how we first met. But let me tell you, if I would have not met her through Joshua, I would have wanted to meet her and be in her space. She's so full of warmth and love. You guys are just going to, she's incredible. So welcome, Brandy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. And you know, I love following you and all that you do. So I think the feeling is very mutual. Thank you for having me join you today. I'm excited to have some chat time.
Yeah, I'm excited to catch up, especially because we don't get to see each other very often. And so whenever we do get in each other's space, I just feel so refreshed. I feel this reconnection and this deep sense of sisterhood when we do have time together. So I'm just really glad to have this today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I know, when did we see each other last? Last fall, right? And I was looking at making a life change, and we had a great conversation about that. And so I'm sure that'll come up in our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear all about the transition and get more information on how that all went down for you. So I would love it if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself and what would you like us to know about you?
Right. You know, when I kind of was going through like, what do I want people to know about me? So like, there's the basics. I am a 46-year-old mother of 3 girls. I've always worked full time. 2 of my kids are adults now, and then 1 is a teenager. So I'm kind of looking at being kind of on that tipping end of parenthood. Although you never stop being a parent ever. And I just get up every morning and I try to live my best life, and I'm constantly looking to grow and do better. And I know I don't have it all figured out yet. But I try to find joy in the journey wherever I can. And that is probably a big piece of who I am. I have been married 21 years. Been in this home that I'm in Snohomish for nearly 20 years. And then I am opening a business in Snohomish. I work for Caliber Home Loans, and I'm going to be opening a branch in Snohomish, probably opening the first week of August, if not the last week of July. So very excited about that. Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. I know that's a big change, and that's a big, even though it's what you've done for so many years, it's a big shift in your career, and it's a very positive and prominent opportunity for you. Yeah. And so, so when we, got to visit over coffee it was September when I was over there for Caleb's birthday. And, you were really kind of like, I'm in this, I've hit the wall of what I can do where I'm at, basically. So tell us a little bit more about like what that moment was like for you when you were like, I need a change.
Yeah, well, and I think, there's been some growth overall, like the last couple of years, where I just have learned to like listen to more to what I need or what I want. And it actually started, I went to it was called Sharp Heels conference, like in September of the year prior. Right. And I just started like taking time to journal and write down like what I wanted to do, where my strengths were, things I didn't really like to do. And, started kind of making that transition, or trying to make that transition at that time. And then COVID hit, right? So then it was just all survival mode, survival at home, survival, trying to take care of my team. At work, I had 12 direct reports, and just trying to help everybody else kind of get through that. And then rates like tanked. So business was like going through the roof, and it was just a crazy time. So made it through that. And then, with everything that happened, I'm also on the local school board. everything just felt too heavy for me. And just like listening to, okay, let's go back to these notes I took and who I am, what I like to do. And really, I like to be in the community. I like the networking events. I like to meet new people. I like to be that face of the company with the customer. And I decided I was going to step back from managing people and go out and do this on my own in a, for a company that more would let me kind of do what I wanted to run my own business. And what's funny is that, that's the same thought I'd had a year prior, but the stars were not aligned at that time. And then when I went to go make the change this past fall, the stars really aligned. They're like, we want to open this Snohomish branch. We want your help. And I just feel like everything really falls into place in the right time. Like sometimes I kick myself, like, why didn't I do this earlier? But everything I've done along my path has gotten me to where I am today, right? So I don't know that I could have done it earlier, or it wouldn't have been right if it was earlier. Right. So it's just been really cool to like go through that process. And it's scary because, I was going from, a fairly secure position to commission only, but it has turned out to just be the right thing for me. So, yeah.
What piece of advice would you give somebody who's staring down a similar situation as to what you were going through? Like, the fear of moving to commission only, or, all of those things those fears that came up for you as you're like, oh, should I take this leap? Should I not take this leap?
It was probably for me, like all throughout my life, I had this fear of failure, right? Like really intense fear of failure. Like in high school, like I was always felt like I really had to succeed. And, there's some things that happened in my life that weren't so successful, but like through those, I always felt like I had to succeed, right? And I think I had to get to a point in my life where I could accept failure, like accept that failure was an option.
Yeah.
And be okay with that, to take that leap, because it's like, I'm not going to fail. I believe in myself. Right. But jumping off that cliff, I had to go, okay, like I have to get rid of that fear of failure. I have to put that aside and be okay knowing I'm going to do this because it's the right thing for me right now. And if I fail, okay, I'll get up, I'll, brush myself off and I'll figure it out from there. But, I think that for me was the biggest thing, is like just knowing that failure is an option and it's okay, right? Because if you live in fear of failure, right, you're never going to take the risks that you need to get where you want to go in life. So.
Well, and you'll see failure everywhere you go. You'll see all the pitfalls, and you'll actually attract all the things you're afraid of, because that's all you're thinking about. And so, the truth is that the road to success is actually littered with small failures. And the beautiful thing about those small failures is that they're not really failures. They're all the ways that aren't right for you, which is so good, because they're all lessons learned.
And so many lessons. Yeah.
So good. And the truth is, when you really look at failure isn't failure unless you really quit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, it just being, accepting, that we're all imperfect humans, right? And like my imperfections like make me who I am. And, so that's the other piece. It's like finding what I'm good at. I know I'm not good at everything. I know I'm not perfect. I mean, I had the conversation with my daughter this morning, right? About like, I know I'm not a perfect mom in many ways, but I think I'm a great mom in others, right? So I may not be like cookie cutter of what everybody else looks like, right? Or, but this is kind of how I'm doing it. And these are, so we had a good conversation. But I like what you said about the attracting things, because I really believe like the energies and the law of attraction. Like I can't tell you lately, it's just been like just so many things that I'm like, I've got a borrower with one name and all of a sudden I have the borrower with the same name. All my loans 1 week are from here, or I like talk to somebody about something and then all of a sudden this opportunity comes in with that same scenario, like from somewhere else. And it's like, so I really believe what you put out there, you get back. And so that's when I say I try to find joy in the journey. That's a lesson I've learned over my life, that if I put negative out there, that's what I'm going to get back. So putting out the joy, the positivity, lifting others up. You know, I think I have this pin, Rise by Lifting Others, that I keep next to my desk, right? Because I really do believe that's true. And I think that's what you do, right? That's so much of what you do. Right.
So much of what I do. Yes. Thank you. I think the most important thing is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, because, you know, you'll probably never learn what you need to learn, because relationships are the classroom of life, right? Sometimes we're the teacher, and sometimes the other people in our lives are the teacher. And so it's very important for us to say, listen, if I'm always, now there's nothing wrong with being the smartest person in the room on occasion, but if you're always the smartest person in the room, you're really in the wrong rooms. So you need to check what you're doing. And then the other thing is that the more you elevate into your truth, the more you can stand from a place of power and elevate people with you. Because it's one thing to be below them and shoving them up. You're carrying all the weight. But if they're pulling and you're pulling, then you can elevate people together and elevate them to their own potential. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, what my potential is not going to be your potential. And what your potential isn't going to be someone else's. So we have to say, everybody's different potential is unique and needed in this world. And that's the value.
I love that. The diverse pieces of all of us that we bring, and just even like, you know, celebrating those differences within each other. Right. Yeah. I love that.
Well, and the thing is that your imperfections are actually the unique pieces of you that someone else needs. Someone else is going to be attracted to those things. You know, I remember when Josh and I were dating, and we were already engaged, but we didn't want to steal Jodina and Pete's thunder and share at their wedding reception that we were engaged. So we kind of kept that nugget to ourselves. And I remember talking to Jennifer in the bathroom before the wedding reception. And in that moment, I was like, so, you know, what sort of things did Josh say to you about me when you guys were in Hawaii? And she was like, well, you know, he really understands who you are. And I was like, really? How so? You know, because he said, gosh, you know, Furf, she could be a real bitch, but I love her.
Oh God. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Oh my gosh.
But the fact that he saw that strong-willed nature, that force of, I know what I want and I'm not willing to settle for less than what I want. And he saw that in me.
And that fierceness is that, and I hate that it's like with that, the word bitch. I don't like that because, I mean, at that time, like whatever, you know, that's your scenario. But when just in general, like, I feel like it speaks to a strong woman, but also like when I've experienced that in my life, it's when I'm overwhelmed and I need help and I'm not getting either the emotional support or the physical support that I need. Yep. And because like, I maybe wasn't so great at expressing that, like, it's like, well, you're just being a bitch. And I'm like, no, I wish, you know, when I look back, I'm like, I wish I would have, you know, had the skills to like, just, you know, verbally ask for what I needed rather than getting, you know, I get to the point where I was just so overwhelmed. But, but no, strong women. I mean, that's a passion of mine. Like I feel like I've always been, you know, a strong woman, and I want that for my kids. And I think they all are strong women, which is hard sometimes parenting, but it's like it's gonna, you know, suit them well in life. And hopefully they know that, you know, they're strong enough to get through whatever comes their way. I mean,
I say that about Caleb too. Caleb is such a strong person. He's always been strong-willed. And I used to say all the time when he was younger, you know, you're so stubborn, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to be a CEO or you're going to lead a gang in prison. And I'm not quite sure which one that is today.
Oh, and he's so great. I mean, we went golfing last month. He was my golfing partner. That was so fun. And he's so sweet, but like, yeah. And so I at one point I was like, I think I was probably drinking a beer and I'm like, oh, did you want one? And he's like, Brandy, I'm like 19. He's very an old soul. And I'm like, oh, sorry, you know, like take that back. But yeah, right. Like, but he seems older than he is, right?
Yeah.
You've done a great job with your boys. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, truthfully, you know, sometimes we all have to remind ourselves that this June would have, had he not graduated from high school 2 years early, this June would have been his graduation. And we oftentimes forget that because he is that kind of a person. And they're all that way. They're very lovely, but they're all very clear in what they want. And you're right, as a mom, that can be really hard because isn't that what we want for them? We want our kids to be confident and assured and clear in what they want for themselves, but also we don't really want them to do that with us.
I know, right? Well, it's the being the both strong personalities can be hard sometimes, right? Like that's one thing I always am working on. Like I said, you know, I don't have my journey fully figured out yet, but I continue to try to align my, you know, like that intuition, and living like what I'm really feeling. But balancing that with listening and trying to be empathetic, to what's going on. And, you know, like, you know, when you see somebody else having a bad day or look at things, like a lot of times it's like, oh, this sucks. I'm stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
But you're stuck in traffic maybe because somebody ahead of you had a really bad car accident, right? So it's like, well, I'm so grateful that, you know, like that's not me, right? And I really have a lot of empathy for that person that's, you know, going through what they're going through. And if you can shift your focus, that's the moving from the negative to positive in life. Like it really does attract everything you want. I just feel it. You can feel it, right? Like it's simple and it's easy, you know, like it takes, you know, focus, but it really will attract what you want in life, I feel.
And it's practice too. It's not easy to be raised with a negative framing of language in every situation or in most situations. You know, the most common ones, like you know, in the car, this is probably the number one example that I use with people when I talk and teach about empathy, because everybody's had that experience, even the most patient of people in the car behind someone, and they're just like, you gotta be kidding me, you know? But it's a reframing of language and it's a reframing of your thought pattern. And people say you are what you speak, but it's not really true. You are what you think. You are what you think. And if your thoughts are negative and your words are positive, your subconscious is only listening to your thoughts, not your words. You know, it's like we're out there running around telling a bunch of lies.
Yes. So yeah, and that's what, you know, one of the things that, you know, I'd written down here was that, you know, one of the lessons I learned was getting rid of like some of that internal early messaging and the shoulds. The shoulds. And I feel like our generation, our kids are getting raised in a generation where there's less shoulds. I feel. And I think we embrace that, right? But getting past the shoulds, you should do this in life and that in life, and you know, all the like what a woman would look like, being a woman would look like, you know, and a lot of that is, you know, that perfection image, or like being subservient, or being, you know, like what did I write down here? Sorry, I'm just looking for this.
No apologies needed.
It's the being selfless, compliant, servient, hardworking, strong, right? Like, it's almost like this pressure. And that's where like I would get overwhelmed when I was younger, because I felt like I did have to be, especially I had kids young, right? I did feel like I had to be this, I had to do everything right. And there's so much pressure to be perfect and do everything right. And then I didn't do everything right. But you know, getting past that and just really embracing, you know, who I am. I'm going to see this again because I just want to focus on what I wrote here, is that, you know, really being a woman should be about being a human, a whole human, an imperfect human, and then finding what gives you purpose and joy. And not that that doesn't mean a lot of hard work, right? You work really hard. You know, I think I work hard. A lot of the women I respect, you know, in whatever they're doing, like my sister Donna, right? Like she's out working. I mean, she puts so much passion into what she does and she loves it. She works really hard, right? And for her, sometimes I think like she needs to hear that, that people see that. And whatever that looks like for you, you know, who you are and embracing who you are and embracing your whole self.
I think there's been this idea that women are supposed to be career oriented and family oriented and nurturing and all of these other things. We're supposed to be soft and strong. We're supposed to be meek and bold. But that's really not fair to the women who are meek at nature, or the women who are bold at nature, the women who are more career oriented at nature, and the women who would rather just take that time and get in their bubble and figure out what their family unit wants to look like and be like and feel like, because she wants to be in that nurturing bubble. And I think that there's got to be an honoring in that, right? Because I remember when I was a young girl, I had big dreams and aspirations of a career and having my own business, but really more than anything, and mostly because of the way that I was raised, I just really wanted to be a fantastic mother and wife. I wanted that family unit that I didn't have. And I put the first decade of my marriage into that, building my family, being the kind of mom I wanted to be, figuring out how to have the marriage I wanted to have, you know, elevating myself and my husband so that together we could parent in the ways we wanted to, and to be challenged in that every day because the environment we lived in was hard. And we did it, and we stood up against those ideas and those pressures and those expectations. And I think that, you know, now it's okay to say, I'm more career oriented and I'm in a good place with that. And I think oftentimes we are promoted as women that we're supposed to do it all at once. But the truth is, you can have it all. You really can. You can have everything that you want in this world, but sometimes you can't have it all at the same time. And that's what's got to be okay.
And also that you can have it all, but it may not look like what someone else thinks is perfect. But if I can have it all and it looks different than you, or you might do it, but this works. This works. And it may not be perfect in other people's eyes, but I feel like learning to do it the way that works for myself and my family is helped, you know, and kind of getting rid of some of those pressures has helped me to, you know, be happier. And then I'm a better mom, and then, you know, our household runs more smoothly. So accepting that I don't have to be everything, you know, that society thinks I need to be, right?
Without a doubt.
And one of the other things that, you know, came out of that question was, you know, an experience I had, because like I see myself as a strong woman, right? And so, but I am also very sensitive, right? So I'm a crier. And like, I am embarrassed by that. So I had a really, you know, hard school board meeting recently, and about 2 hours in, I just like teared up, right? I couldn't help it. And I was so hard on myself for that. Like that was humiliating. And I'm like, no, that's again, like embracing, that is a piece of who I am, right? Like I'm strong and I am sensitive, right? I can be both of those things. And me crying on screen in front of hundreds of people, that's just me being my whole self.
I love it.
So that was, something else that kind of came up.
I think that we're told we're supposed to live a dual, like women are supposed to live multi-dimensional duality, but we're not allowed to be multi-dimensional in our duality.
Right.
And so oftentimes we feel that that's a weakness when, wow, what a beautiful strength to say, I'm so passionate about this situation that I cannot hold, and I will not hold my emotions back.
Right.
You need to hear from my heart. You need to see how I feel. And I think that that's, we need to normalize emotion. We just do.
I agree. Yes. And for men and women. I mean, I really feel like, especially for men, that's a struggle, right? Like I know they were taught to be tough, right? Or not show emotion. And it's funny because I think, you know, like society has come advanced so much in that area. It's also gone backwards in the world that I see like people afraid to be vulnerable. So you've got this thing where like, okay, we're kind of advancing as society in embracing feelings, but at the same time, people not feeling like they can be vulnerable. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this, I think that, you know, there was a Dove commercial. I don't watch, you know, I don't watch regular television, so I don't get to see commercials, but a client had emailed me the YouTube link to this Dove commercial and said, you have to watch this. And it's this beautiful, it's a newer commercial about Dove tackling social media and self-esteem in social media. And so if you guys get a chance to watch it, go check out this new Dove commercial on self-esteem and social media, because it is powerful. And it tells the story of what we have done to ourselves with this level of filtered photos and ideas of sharing our best and only our best selves on our social media. I will say that one of the things that I have noticed in the last year for myself, as far as social media goes and showing up in social media in that way, is that I've spent less time on it, and I've spent more time over in the TikTok world. Because there's a lot of support for truth and honesty and mental health awareness, and supporting people who are struggling. People are getting on there and they're bawling their eyes out on these videos asking for support. Can somebody just please support me and reach out for me? There's a lot of suicide awareness happening over on that side of TikTok. And it's really beautiful because people are showing up in droves. People are actually driving to other people's homes that they are connecting with and saying, I'm here for you. There's a lot of connection that's happening through that. Mm-hmm. And that's a start. That's a start. And it's a good place to start. But I think that we do need to do a better job of normalizing honest humans and truth in humanity in so many ways. You know, how many times do we put a filter on an image, or we like this color better than that color, or, you know, and where's the truth in that?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you bring up, I don't have a TikTok, so I don't spend a lot of time over there, but that does like pique my interest. I had a conversation this past week with somebody that I realized, you know, like, am I doing a disservice by not being fully, you know, exposing on social media? And I try not to, for like professionally probably. Yeah. But, you know, I realized, you know, when I had this conversation that, you know, people don't realize, like, before I made that change, my life was at a breaking point, you know, like I was on a safety plan last summer, right? That got me over the edge. And not many people know that. But like, it's real, right? It's a real thing that people deal with. And so being able to be vulnerable, oh, this is like, here we go, the whole me here. But realizing that if I'm not centered on like my truth, like that's where I become misaligned. And so the closer I get to my truth, and I'm not there all the way yet, you know, like I'm not fully aligned yet, but the closer I get to my truth, the more that I am able to experience that joy that I seek, right?
Yep.
And so I think that's something that's important, is recognizing And, you know, and that comes with getting rid of those social constraints and the shoulds.
Yeah.
There's so much, you know, repressing in that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the fear of what other people, oh, you know, so and so's on my, you know, follows me on Facebook. And if I post that there, now I'm going to get a phone call. And, you know, I don't really want to deal with that phone call.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons as to why we don't, but
Right.
maybe those people need to know that about us too. You know,
Right.
and this is something that I've experienced throughout the pandemic, having to close my office in town so that I could be home full time with Weston.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't make sense to keep paying rent for a place I couldn't go to for
Right.
an indefinite amount of time. And so I've been back working from home, and he went back to school, and I'm still working from home, and it's fine because nobody else is here anymore, you know. But the truth is it's very lonely, and I've hit some very lonely walls in the last year where, you know, Josh has come home from work and I'm sitting on the floor in the living room with my journal and my cards and my, you know, I'm pulling cards and I'm just like bawling with my
I love
crystals.
it.
And he's like, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I'm not okay today. And so he'll sit on the floor with me, and, you know, I'm like, I'm lonely. I'm struggling with loneliness.
Yeah.
And I think that oftentimes, you know, working from home, that's not something that we're talking about enough. And there's a lot of people that have been working from home.
And I didn't realize like how, I mean, I always knew that I got energy from people and being in crowds. And like, I am very much into energy, whether it's like walk into a building, it just feels good. Right. Or just being around people, I garnish that energy. And so that was really hard during COVID for me too. And like coming out of COVID now, and I'm lucky because I'm in this area where my industry is like very social. And things are opening back up, and I'm in an area that's really large, so I can pull social circles from different areas and spend time with lots of different people. You live in a smaller town, right, where it's like you don't have these, you can't just go out and find your, you know, this group to connect with. And so I hear you. That's hard because that was a big lesson for me. Like, I am really social. I need people. I need to be around people. Yeah, so I feel you there. And the crystals and the cards, and yeah, I'm there, journal front of my window with my yoga mat.
I have on the table, the little end table underneath, or the console table underneath the TV, I have all of like my bowl of blessings and angel cards and all of my other stuff. And I have a meditation pillow that I put right in front of that little console, and I sit there and I do my meditations and my journaling. And it's so cute now because Weston, you know, he'll come through in the morning and I'm going to pull a card for me today, Mom, you know. And so he'll pull a card and he'll be like, I am strong. Yes, I am. I am so strong.
I love it. I love it. But that's what I had this experience with someone that was in my home this past couple weeks, and I was able to like share cards and, you know, that experience with them, and then share my story. And it was a pretty cool experience. But like that meditation really, meditation is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And that's where I find my truth. That's where I just, you know, shut out the noise of the world and find who I really am, or what I really need. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first learned about meditation, you know, I when I journal, I always, you know, write prayers at the end of my journaling. And so somebody said to me once, you know, you do a lot of talking, but do you do a lot of listening? And I was like, ooh, ouch, truth in that. Because to me, prayer is talking and meditation is listening. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's true. Meditation is when you learn to listen to your soul and what the universe has in store for you, and what's right for you. And then you can act on it from there.
Yeah. And I actually had this meditation I did last week that I was like, it was speaking the truth to me. And that's that, are you going into meditation telling the universe what to tell you? Right? Like, I'm going to meditate because I want to hear this. Right. So I was like, so I did a meditation, and it was speaking through how you know, like being open, but it's like trying to control what the universe tells me. But yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, I needed to hear that today. Like I don't know the bigger picture. I don't see the bigger picture. I don't know all the little moving pieces. So I just have to trust that, the right things will come at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that it really is reframing your mind and your thoughts, reframing your language around how you talk about yourself and the world around you, what you believe to be true. Oftentimes, clients will come to me with some really challenging things, and a lot of time, well, I can't have that. Well, is that really true for you? Is that really true for you? And if you really believe that that's true, why is that true? Where's that truth coming from? Where's that belief or that mindset coming from that you don't believe that that's true, that you can't have those things in your life? And ultimately it comes down to, self-esteem and belief in self. Oftentimes we have such a strong fear of failure, and sometimes we're not realizing that fear of failure is actually a fear of success, and how that shows up for and manifests for different people. Because how fear of failure or success shows up for me is going to look vastly different than how it shows up for you, even though there's some similarities to it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, that's true. It's just understanding, yeah, that we're all so unique, and we all do have comfort zones. And also, just like I said, with this new job and this new transition, I just with the life lessons I've learned and how to listen, how to meditate. If I wish I could have gone back 25 years or further even, and learned those, you utilized and had those tools then. And then, but when I do that, I'm like, I wasn't ready. It's just the same story. I wasn't ready. I had to go through these experiences. I had to figure these things out. They've made me who I am today. All the positives and negatives have made me who I am today. And I'm just grateful that I found, these tools to kind of help me expand and live.
Would you say that you're more self-assured now than you were even a year ago?
Oh, absolutely. And I still have more work to do. I still draw, when I look back, I like so many of the poor decisions I made in life were because I was just felt like I had to be validated. I had to be validated through like a relationship. I had to be validated through other people. And I still feel like my circle, like my close friends, I get a lot of validation from the people in my life. Right. And so I feel like I am, more self-assured, I do feel like I still have more work to do there to just pull that internally and not feel like I have to search for that external validation.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I can definitely relate. I think that, growing up in an environment where, you're told regularly you're not wanted or you're neglected and abandoned, it's easy to think that it's easy to understand that you don't believe that you're worth living. You don't believe that you're worth it to somebody else unless you're giving. Mm-hmm. And I know that for a lot of women, and I attract a lot of women like that in my life because that's how I was raised. That's the things that I struggled with. Being raised that way, I believed strongly that I was not worth other people unless I was giving of myself 100% all the time. And if I ever asked for anything, support or someone to listen to my story or be there for me, I felt epic levels of guilt because I wasn't in the giving space. And so now I feel vulnerable and guilty. Mm-hmm. And I think so many women, and I know so many women have gone through some of that in their lives. And so that external validation is so important. But I think one of the beautiful things in shining our radiance in the world is saying, I'm not okay today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is powerful. And also saying I'm not okay today. I'm also okay if I make a decision that you don't agree with. And that's something that being on the school board has really, really helped me. I was talking to the superintendent about it yesterday, that the personal growth is that so much of my life, like I wanted everybody to like me, and not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. And not everyone's going to like my decisions, and that's okay. I still need to stay true to who I am. And so like, yeah, either I'm not okay or I'm making a decision you're not okay with, and that's okay. You know? Yeah, that's huge.
And no is a sentence in and of itself. If you have to explain or excuse something, then you're doing it to appease other people, not because you're confident and self-assured standing on your own truth.
Right.
Yeah. The moment that we get uncomfortable in the pause is the moment we need to stay quiet. Because that uncomfortableness is not necessarily ours to deal with. But here's the beautiful thing about personal growth and personal development. You can read all the books that you want. You can listen to all the podcasts you want. You can have every aha moment that there is and still not go out there and live that.
Right.
It's in the doing. It's in those moments where you have to show up and you actually have to do it that courage muscle is built. That courage, that bravery, that self-confidence will continue to grow. So it's in those scary moments where you have to act.
Yeah. Yeah. And learning to, for me, a lot of it was like overcoming. So sitting with my emotions, or sitting through the hard things and just feeling it and getting through, knowing, I had gone through trauma therapy a couple of years ago, because I had been in a very traumatic situation when I was young, traumatic relationship right out of high school. And my fight or flight kicks in like really early because that's a trauma response, right?
Yep.
So learning, and that's where some of the meditation came in too, is like learning to sit and learning that, you know, like sitting with something hard is okay. It's like sitting with it and knowing that it's not going to kill me, right?
Yep.
I can sit with it and I can come out okay. And that was like a huge learning, because typically, I mean, and I still do, my fight or flight still comes into play, and I want to like exit those uncomfortable situations. But sticking through an uncomfortable situation and coming out and going, hey, I did that, is so empowering. So empowering. So yeah.
That pause. I think oftentimes, especially, and I know for our generation, this is very true. We were raised by a generation that was like, come on, let's go, get on with it. Quick answers. You didn't answer me. Talk, there was this pressure to show up immediately instead of allowing the space for critical thinking to happen.
Right.
And so there's these trained gut reactions that happens a lot of times. And if we continue to parent that way, and like you said, being an imperfect parent, but also giving space to teach our kids to be independent and be a strong individual and knowing themselves, means that we have to give pause. We have to unlearn the ways that parenting did not serve us. Right. So that we can parent in different ways. And that's not an easy thing to do, because I've always been that mom that's like, come on, I ain't got time for this.
Yes.
And now, of course, and I have apologized to the older kids already, but I will say this. I'm sorry that I didn't have the tools that I had then to give those kids the same kind of mom.
Right.
I was an ancient mom.
I feel the same way, right? They didn't have the same experience. And like, even the conversation I had with Brooklyn this morning, she's like, this is my truth. And I'm like, I honor that. Let's talk about it, even though it's hurtful. Right.
Yep.
And it's that truth I needed to hear. And
giving going around, because Weston and I had a conversation similar this morning.
Yeah. And it's like being able to listen and give them that space. And before, you're right, it was like, okay, this doesn't fit into, we need to move. And living in chaos. Like, we just lived in chaos for so many years, like small kids, jobs, house, like, so, COVID, that great pause. I mean, I never have had that great pause. Right. So while it was really hard, it also was just such a gift to be like, what am I going to let back into my life what do I need to let back in? Like I need that social piece. And what do I not need to let back in my life after we come out of COVID? What can I say no to? And so, what a great opportunity to
Yes.
reset and look at what really is important in life. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, because we're really not, the goal isn't to get back to normal. And I think a lot of times there's this, there's been this bit of a push to get back to normal, but really this was a beautiful opportunity for the world to hit the reset button and say, am I living the life that I'm really supposed to be living?
Right.
And if I'm trying to recreate the past, what does that say about how I feel about myself and my family if I'm not able to move forward and create from here?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, COVID was I'm very devastated by so many of the things that came through, that happened during the pandemic. But the reality is that there were so many dark corners of our lives that were brought into the light,
Yeah.
that needed to happen. This needed to happen to our world. This needed to happen to our humanity. And for that, I'm very grateful, because I think that now we can build more strong foundations in relationships and humanity.
I agree. I like to say that there were rocks turned over that
Yeah.
they can't be turned back over, right? They've been exposed, and that is important to be able to move on, and build and repair. Yeah.
And allow space for everybody to speak their truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what's true for me isn't always true for everybody else, and that's okay.
Yes. And I think that's such an important piece as we move through these hard things as a society, is that I may have a different viewpoint than other people, and I am willing to listen, right? And I'm willing to honor your perspective. And I feel like I wish we could all come together, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that table.
Well, think about it this way. You have 3 sisters. You are all raised by the same parents in the same house, and you all have a different perspective of the memories that you share.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It is the same on a larger scale of the world.
Right.
It
right.
doesn't matter.
It's crazy to think like, and I see it, like I tell Summer, my sister Summer, that's got 8 kids, like I'm like, you're a science experiment, and how many different personalities you can have, right? Like seriously, like and it just really is like each individual and their unique, just how unique we are as humans. And if you have a different experience than me, and you have a different perspective than me, if you have a different perspective than me, it's because you've had a different experience. Exactly. You've experienced things I didn't, right? Yep. And I know that there's a lot of pain coming through COVID, a lot of job loss, income losses, a lot of hard things that people had to deal with that I was fortunate enough not to. So listening to their perspective is important. This was a different, I have a different experience because I had perspective, because I have a different experience. And so honoring that when people are coming, even in life, when you see somebody that's having a hard day, what, I'm grateful that I'm not in that same space, and I'm empathetic to whatever has brought them to that space.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I think that, really what the world needs right now is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of empathy that's needed in the world. And, I'm on a little bit of a mission to teach it.
I know, right? Like we can just celebrating our differences. Yeah. Celebrating our differences and honoring everybody's experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So with all of those different pieces of who you are, Brandy, how do you integrate all of those parts?
I used to compartmentalize it a lot. I used to be like, this is this piece of me, and this is this piece of me, and this is this piece of me, and they can't mix.
Yep.
That doesn't work. Right. So it's just learning to embrace my whole self, learning to embrace that I am strong, and that I want, I have high expectations of myself. I have high expectations for other people around me. I have, but yet I am sensitive and loving, and I love to give back. I do love to help people, and I like to have fun in life. Like I love to dance. I loved, and I'm sure we danced. When was, Grandpa's funeral? That was the best.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh. The last time we had a huge family dance party, and that was just amazing. I mean, I love to live life fully, right? And I love to laugh, and I love to,
Yes.
and I love my family, and I love entertaining and being around our families and our friend groups. So just knowing that that's all okay, right? Like it used to be a friend of mine in high school. She's like, Brandy, you're a schizo because you're like, leader at school, and you're a straight A, like valedictorian, and then you're out in the woods partying. No, I used to feel like, it is all part of who I am. I want to live life large and have fun and be happy. And I can do that. Well, I give back to my community, and I lift other people up, and I serve my family. I can be all that at one time and not have to have two different, different personas. Because I think that's what was hard, like trying to think, and I think that's when I say like society has come so far, and the acceptance of who people are and what you can be is so great, and so great for our kids, but also great for us, because it's like, I can embrace and live my full truth of who I am and what I want out of life, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt. And I think that that's something that we can all do a better job at, right? Integrating all parts of who we are. I think that as women, we have been taught to a certain extent by previous generations in our society that we are supposed to compartmentalize, freak in the sheets and a lady on the street, one version of me over here and another version of me over there. And that's creating identity crises for women, and has for a long time. And I know that men have gone through that too. And, not to minimize anybody's struggle with that identity crisis. But we absolutely, what would you say you had to learn that allowed you to know that integration was not just okay, but important?
That I'm the only one that really knows what's okay for me and being okay with that, right? That is probably the biggest thing, is that, is that piece that like, this might not be okay for you, or this might not be okay for you. I can't make everybody happy. So I'm not going to be this person in front of you and this person in front of you, because that's what makes you happy. I'm the only one that knows who I really am, and embracing who I am, whether this person likes it or that person likes it, and getting rid of those shoulds. That's the biggest thing, is like, I need to know it's okay that not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. Because I think that's where you start to compartmentalize, is when you feel like you have to put on different faces for different audiences. And that's when you're not living true to who you really are.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. What would you say is the positive phrase that you've repeated to yourself throughout your life most?
Oh, you want to hear a funny, well, not so funny story, but a funny story that really, like, how these intangible things can like lift you up, right?
Yes.
I was voted most likely to succeed my senior year of high school, right? So I've got my picture. Me and my friend Kevin, we were both most likely to succeed. We're both in mortgage these days. So it's funny, because I think we both carry the same role. He's in Eastern Washington. But when I was really down in the dumps in that abusive relationship, there was a moment like I hit a real low, and I had a baby. And I knew something had to change. Like I was going to die, either because like the depression and the abuse, or because, I was going to rise above. Right. Yeah. And there's a moment, like I was locked in the bathroom of this tiny, this is like, I shouldn't even say these things out loud, but tiny manufactured home, like in the middle of the woods. And I was like, I have to rise above. Right. And like, it was that, like, most likely to succeed. That is who I am. That's who I am, not this, right? And it was that little, like, it's that silly, like voted, I mean, whatever. That is what pulled me up. And it was like this is not who I am. Yeah. That is who I am. And so that helped me like get on the path to like, I always took care of myself and my daughter, and
I love how that
creating my
was
own success.
I love how that was spoken into your life when you were the truest version of yourself, to remind you when you were in the depths of the hard times of your life, that you
Right.
that is the real version of you, not this.
Right.
And I love how the universe does that for us at so many different turns. I will say that I had a similar experience, and that was what it was for me too, was a truth that had been spoken into my life previously that seemed so inconsequential at the time, but was meant for that moment to pull me up and out of the darkness, to say, you have a purpose and there's something about you that the world needs.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that.
And so then when you say that, it's like, how can we instill those messages in other people? And so like just how easy it is to make a small comment or send a note card, or reach out and send a message, a text, a Facebook message, comment on a post, and just let people, give them those messages, right? Give them those messages that validate who they are.
It's something as simple as, we've been purging now that we've finally taken the time after the older boys have moved out, and there's all this stuff that got shoved back in storage. We're purging and we're getting rid of things. And there was a small television that had been sitting back there, and I put it up for sale, and this young lady was like, yes, I want that. So I meet her at the bottom of the road, and we spend a half an hour talking about the challenges in her life. And I just spent that time pouring into her, letting her know that she was seen and valued, but also because I'm truly passionate about souls, and I love connecting with souls, and I love connecting with people, and I could talk to people all day long.
And come out and come out at the other end full of more energy, because it's so energizing. And there are those people, like, and you're one of them, but there's those people that I run into, and then you have that conversation and you walk away like they filled your bucket. Yes. And it wasn't even anything directly that they said, but it was just being around their energy, like fills you up and makes you a better person, right? So
re-energized and fulfilling, satisfactory. Weston uses this phrase a lot. That was so satisfying.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And I'm going to do that. I'm going to walk away from people and go, oh, that was so satisfying.
And send them a note and let them know that they filled your bucket. I think people need to be validated in that too. So
I think that's so important. And I will say that after our conversation last fall, to get your beautiful little postcard in the mail was just really, like, I know how I feel when I'm in your space, and I know how connected I feel with you when I'm in your space. But for you to just reaffirm that's how you feel too, it was just like this. I super got teary-eyed, and even Josh got teary-eyed, and we're just like, oh.
So well, and I had no idea that had that impact on you, right? Like, and so that's a good reminder. I need to do that more, because it's,
I think we all, at the end of the day, you're not taking your house or your money or your belongings with you when you go. What are you leaving behind? What are you really leaving behind? You're leaving behind how people felt when they left your space.
I love that.
Yeah, that's your legacy.
Good, because I've been, one of the things I wrote down on here is like, as we're coming out of the pandemic, I still feel like I need to look at like who I am and what my purpose is, you know? And I love that, like, I think of purpose as super tangible. And in what you said, it's like opened that, the vision for me, because it's like, it doesn't have to be a tangible. It's like how you leave people feeling when you leave their space. Wow. That was powerful. Thank you. I needed that today. That was like,
welcome.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to take away.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. You can
Bring it down.
go for it. You can impact people on a grand scale and have a massive impact in one moment, or you can look at it on a smaller scale. You can change the world in that one moment for one person. And then that changes the world for the people that they touch. And so the ripple effect is far greater. And I think of Shari, and I think of all of our kids, but I think of all of our girls and all of our bonus kids in such profound ways. But I know that for Shari, she impacted me as much as I impacted her. Having that experience with her and going through, her adoption was finalized a month and a half before she turned 18. That was like, to say that sounds like, oh, Josh and Steph, they're these great big people. No, we needed her as much as she needed us. Wow. And our life with every single kid has changed profoundly, not just for us, and obviously for them in certain ways, but all of the people that they touch, all of the people that they meet, the relationships, the level of expectation that they have in their lives for the people that they bring into their lives now because of it. We've elevated the world for all of them, and they've elevated the world for us because they forced us to have to do better.
Yes. Yep. I love that. And so many lessons learned. And I did that with, I found that in my experience with Girls on the Run. I don't know, you've probably seen that I'm very passionate about that organization. In fact, I've got some cards here I'm looking at, this is from the director of Girls on the Run of Snohomish County, and little notes from some of the girls. But when I did that program and I was a coach, it was transformational, watching the girls go through and helping them go through, and what they taught me and what I learned from the lessons of Girls on the Run. Man, I wish I had these coping skills or these life lessons at a younger age. But for me, it was the right time to learn those lessons and go through it. And the things that the girls taught me it was pretty cool. So again, it's one of those situations where you're giving back, but you're getting more than you're giving. And I think that's pretty common. Yeah,
it is.
And parenting is a huge example of that, because we give, and we get a lot back, and a lot of lessons, good life lessons.
If you're open to it. If you're open, you have to be open to letting your kids be your teachers too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to let you go.
I know, I'm not ready for it to end. This was so great. And thank you for letting me be vulnerable and just be my whole self on here. This was a great experience for me. So I really appreciate you having me on here and getting to spend this time with you.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you were able to make time for this and to be on with me. I love your space. I love your energy. I adore you. And I am just it's been such a joy to watch you build this new chapter in your life. And I cannot wait till I can see your space in person.
Yes, it's going to be great. The energy is great. You'll love it. You're going to, hopefully we'll see you towards, as we get into the end of the summer and fall, to have you, we can bring some crystals in there. Donna got me this amazing crystal to keep in there. So well, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So yes. And all the same, thank you for everything you bring and just who you are. And I was just looking through your page to kind of prep as I got ready for today. And I'm like, man, even your branding, you're just so on point with who you are and what you've created. And I just love it. So
thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And more women connecting like this makes a bigger impact in the world. So thank you, Brandy, for being on today. Thank you, everybody who was watching. Go out and have radiant life conversations with your sisters, your mothers, your friends, your husbands, your partners, your children, because these are the conversations that matter. These are the connections that are important. Everyone, thank you. Brandy, again, this was fantastic. I hope you all have a most radiant rest of your day.
Thank you.